Welcome to Digital Asset News to get top stories in crypto and bring out bite-sized pieces. Today, just like the thumbnail suggests, Congress is out there pushing Bitcoin, and it's really going to be up to these key individuals to push us over the hump. So we're going to take a look at who is actually doing that as far as Congress men and congresswomen and senators, and who is kind of laying to the wayside. Also, we'll take a look at what's going on as far as the Cardano Virtual Summit, which is going on this weekend. And then out of all the good news, I want to share something which is kind of in the middle of the road and what's going on as far as speed bumps, El Salvador and their integration of Bitcoin. And then also I'm going to talk to you about a speaking event I'll be at, which will be coming up October 15th through the 17th. So first of all, let's just jump right in and say the market is pretty flat. I mean, right now we got it at 1.89 trillion. We were bouncing around 2 trillion, but here we are. The daily sentiment score given to us by Trade the Chain, which scrapes all the interwebs and all the different blog posts for the different exchanges. And it also has a direct API into Twitter and goes through millions and millions of tweets, says, hey, this is what people's sentiment is for Bitcoin today in the overall market. Now, if we take a look at the coins themselves, it is Saturday. Beautiful day today, I might add. But, I mean, we're just kind of just flat after that news of China coming out and banning Bitcoin for the 20,000th time. So we've got Bitcoin is up a whopping 0.81%. Watch out. 0.32 down for Ethereum, hovering around that $2,900 mark. Cardano is the big winner of the day, 6%. And I thought that this would actually happen with this virtual summit, but there's some good news on the horizon, which I'm going to share to you about what they just talked about and their big blockbuster partnership. So that's what's happening. And then Chainlink, 2% is up. And well, I'll tell you exactly why that is. Tesla's up 4%, and that's pretty much it. That's what's happening. Also, we're going to take a look at sentiment. Let's just go for the projected ranges today and see where we're potentially at. If you're a big trader, I am personally not. But if you are, take a look at IOTEX, DeFi.money, Rary Governance, Hive. I haven't seen that in a long time. Horizon, UMA, and Origin Trail. All right, so that's what's going on in the market. Let's just jump right into today's big story, shall we? And that is that this Congress pushes Bitcoin. And I'm pretty happy about this. I like to see this. But before we get into who it is and who's actually doing the right things, I want to just share with you a couple bit of data points. And this was from Mike Greff. So Mike, I want to say thanks for sharing this. And what he talks about here is we just had this dump on Friday, which is kind of weird because we also had options expiration and for the traditional markets. And it just seems like everything kind of played into that part at the very right time at the right place. And Mike says, you know, look, a history of China's impact on Bitcoin price. In 2013, when Bitcoin was pretty much a brand new baby, well, 2009, but it was kind of like an infant at this point, or toddler, who knows, 50% dip when China announced it was banning Bitcoin. That was in 2013, mind you. That was like 8 years ago. And then, of course, they banned it again, 2017, and they banned it again, 2021. But that was a real ban. That was like, miners get out. I was so happy this happened. But when that happened, and we all agree it was a pretty big event, 19%. I think it could fluctuate a little bit more depending on what you look at. It might have been 25%. And then today's ban, which was on Friday, yesterday was 5%. I've seen a little bit more, 8, 9%, maybe even 10%. But still, you can see the point that Mike's trying to make, and it's a great point, which is China. We know you don't want Bitcoin and crypto. It's not going to make a big dent. However, it still makes a dent with the uninitiated. And that's why I put out this channel, for the information so people can know exactly what's going on. And this is just FUD. This is FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it's just not relevant information at this point. So Mike, thanks for that tweet. Also on top of that, people will say, well, if China doesn't, China's a very smart country, very smart. Bunch of smart people and Xi Jinping and all those guys are really well. They also banned YouTube in 2009, which actually is a pretty good move. I hate YouTube. Just kidding. YouTube in 2009. Facebook, not a big fan of Facebook. 2009. Google, they banned it in 2010, and Wikipedia in 2019. So when we talk about how like, oh, you know what, they're just they're just playing this 4D chess. Maybe they're not. Because in all honesty, I mean, really what they want to do is really, I mean, there's a communist country. They want to control their people, right? It's not really good to control people when you have a lot of information being disseminated by the masses, such as in YouTube, such as in Facebook, and such as in Google. So with those types of things, then I can guarantee you they do not want their people to sidestep their central bank. So in that regard, sure. But it's just going to, de-evolve and de-evolve into a more communist country and, see how that plays out. That's not my role to talk about that. My role here is talk about the good news and the bad news and what's going on in Congress. And this is something that I think was a step in the right direction. This is Senator Pat Toomey. If you have not followed him on Twitter, he's a must follow. Actually, all the people I'm going to talk about today, they just get it. And Toomey comes out and says this. He goes, look, China's authoritarian crackdown on crypto, including Bitcoin, is a big opportunity for the U.S. It's also a reminder of our huge structural advantage over China. I'm like, structural advantage? I'm listening. He says, Beijing is so hostile to economic freedom, they cannot even tolerate their people participating in what is arguably the most exciting innovation in finance in decades. Economic liberty leads to faster growth and ultimately a higher standard of living for all. And then we can debate this all day long. But I got to tell you, it seems like the more you shut off the rights to people, the more they want those rights back and the more they will fight for those rights. Now, I'm not here to incite a revolution. That's not the point of this channel. But I do have to agree with Toomey, and I have to say that this is a great opportunity for America to step in and take the lead and say, this is what we want to do. All the miners come here. We're going to set forth regulation. We're going to give clarity, and we're going to run with it. And we're going to be the global leaders for cryptocurrency and, maybe even mass production and also maybe even AI. If you can get those three in the next 10 years, you'll be a global dominant leader. Anyhow, on top of that, Toomey was the one that pretty much pressed Gary Gensler, one of the senators there, and says, hey, look, Gary, you need to give us clarity. And you say it's all around us, but it doesn't make any sense because when I'm looking at it as a layman, it doesn't make any sense to me. We did a video on this on September 14th. I will link at the very end. Fantastic information. It was a 2-hour conference or a hearing, which I condensed into about 20 minutes or so, which you can take a listen to later. But Toomey is one of those champions of crypto, and I want to say thank you so much for doing the things that he does. On top of that, we've also got Cynthia Loomis from Wyoming. She says, look, Bitcoin is bipartisan. Digital assets are apolitical. Other slogans welcome. And this is because Caitlin Long says, Senator Loomis just gave a big shout out to Senator Ron Wyden for their partnership opposing the broad definition of broker in the infrastructure bill. If you remember not too long ago, that bill came about and it was just an awful writing, the way that it was put forth. And because of all of our efforts, it almost got changed. If it wasn't for one senator, I forgot that guy's name, who stood up and said, nope, I'm not going to append this and we're going to keep moving forward. But on the bright side, we've still got some pretty big names. That's Loomis. And then this is one of my favorites, Tom Emmer. I think he's from Ohio. And he said this, digital authoritarianism. China is forcing its citizens away from decentralized currency and onto the digital yuan so the CCP can track all money movements. You fear Big Brother, but then you should also fear what the Fed might be designing. And on top of that, Tom here also had the folks over there at Coinbase come in and talk to him and tell him what's, to kind of determine what's a security, what's a commodity, what's a currency. And he sat down with him and I said, hey, what's great about this is that these people came in, talked to the representative, and then Tom here didn't send them a Wells notice or try to sue him like the SEC did with Coinbase, because that is the wrong move in my opinion. And this is what it all comes down to. So I know we hear about this horrible news, this awful news about the SEC is coming in and then Gary's really going to crack down. Super Gary's going to crack down on everybody. But you have to remember, it's not just one person that can dictate everything. You have to go through a lot of different hoops and a lot of different chambers and houses and votes to really get things done. And these three people, they just get it. They understand what this means and how important it is to move forward. So I just want to say, every time you hear some bad negative news, just remember there's people in some pretty high places fighting for the things that we want. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section. And let's move on to our next piece, the Cardano Virtual Summit. So first of all, the reason why Cardano went up is because this virtual summit. I think there's some announcements. Also, it probably went up because there was a big announcement between Cardano and Chainlink, which we just saw. They were the only two that were actually up. Besides, I think I forgot the other one. So congratulations. Looks like Cardano is going to be working a lot more closely with the folks at Chainlink. And then just so you know, you can go to this right now, and it's the most interesting summit I've attended, because usually it's just like the Zoom boxes and people are talking and you almost fall asleep. And this one's pretty cool. Like you can just like go hang around in a virtual world. When you go up to people, you can start to chat if you want to. You can, and then there's all different types of, it's kind of like you're on a field watching a movie, and then you can go to all the different types of, let's see what else is going on. Governance, main stage, community, catalyst. And you can go to any one of these that's going on right now, and you can interact with people. You can watch what's going on. You can see the actual event itself and just kind of go through here. Usually it's actually people talking. It's not a bunch of these slideshows. There's one. Who's this guy talking? Increase interoperability on the networks. But that's how you go around. And you can also find little things like gamification. I think it's a very interesting concept. It makes it more engaging, that's for sure. And that's what's going on. So I can tell you this. There have been some rumors about some big announcements being made here, but only time will tell. And I'm not even going to tell you the rumors because it's just, they're rumors. So there's no reason for me to say it. But I do think there's a couple of moderate to huge announcements maybe made during this seminar. So we will see. And I will link how you can actually get to this virtual conference, which is going on today and tomorrow, and I believe you can actually watch the replay. So check that out at your leisure. So good news going on in the crypto space, and that is fantastic. But I need to talk to you about a little bit of some middle of the road, maybe even some might consider this a little bad news. And what this is, it was a good piece written by Bitcoin.com. It talks about a rocky start for Bukele's Bitcoin law in El Salvador. And when I first read it, I was pretty standoffish. I'm like, yeah, right. It's just FUD, and people aren't really, they're spreading a false narrative. But in reality, you have to take a look and take a step back and just challenge yourself and say, this might be true. And from what I was seeing, I mean, nothing's 100% accurate, but when I look at this, I'm like, this does make sense. This makes sense why there's probably they call it a rocky start. I just call it a speed bump. And that's the best way I can say it. So what's going on here? So first of all, this all got rolled out about a month ago or so. Check me in the comments. And then people were talking about different protests against the president, Bukele. But when it says here on September 15th, there was one of the biggest protests against Bukele's government. And then there was thousands of people that came through, which is where you have seen other pictures. It's just like they have a picture of like 20 people and they make it look like hundreds, but it's not really the real case, just an angle of the picture. But in this one, they're saying, yeah, there's been protests lately and there's been thousands of people, which I think is really not too bad considering the fact that El Salvador has between, I think, 4 and 5 million people, depending on which census information that you get. But you have to remember this, though. The polls still suggest he still has an 80% approval rating, which is amazingly high for anybody in office. I don't see that's possible, but okay. But here's the thing, and this makes sense. Not completely adopted. While everyone saw the pictures of fast food chains accepting Bitcoin, we've all seen the one with McDonald's, we've seen the ones with like Wendy's or whatever else where it says, we take Bitcoin here. As payment, the truth is that Bitcoin is still far from being accepted universally in the country. This is from Florence Olivares. She says there's lines and lines in every Chivo ATM. And Chivo is the app that the El Salvadorian government put out for its people. It's a Bitcoin wallet. And they put $30 worth of Bitcoin in each of these wallets. And she says people selling their Bitcoins for USD. Yeah, but Bitcoin is a success in El Salvador. When you say it like that, yeah, there's a lot of people, and it only makes sense. They're going to exchange it for the US dollar. Why? Because look at the volatility we've had. If you are making, here, let me show you something. If you are This is the gross national income per capita in El Salvador from 2010 to 2020. Last year, the average salary, $36.50 per capita. $36.50. I want you to let that sink in. If you get $30 from the government, that's pretty big money, in all honesty. And then let's just say that, we had things go down. It reduces by 20%. You're like, what the heck just happened? I don't have the time and the patience to figure this out. I'm in a developing country. I got $30, and now it's worth $24. This isn't what I signed up for, and I'm going to change it out for US dollars because guess what? As much as we complain about the dollar and it's going away and it's really awful and guess what? It's still stable. It's still stable, and that is just the truth. And I don't care if you are thinking to yourself, well, these people should just hold on for a year or 2 years or 6 months. When you're in a developing country and you have to feed your family, I'm sorry, you're going to put it into US dollars. Not everybody, but that is what it is. And I think here's one of the big problems. And it states here, the mass of Salvadorans still don't understand what Bitcoin is or its use cases. The government has a big job in educating its citizens about the true value of Bitcoin. And here's what it comes down to. Think about you. When you first heard of cryptocurrency and digital assets, the first one you probably heard was probably Bitcoin. If you just got into it, it's probably Dogecoin. Sorry. And when you heard about these things, you're probably like, that makes no sense. Why would I ever get into that? And then you took the time and the effort and you actually learned about, okay, this is what I want to get into. I want to be a speculator. I want to get into it, right? Not a lot of us are putting our entire livelihood into Bitcoin and crypto. Some of you are. I don't think a lot of you are. And if you're doing something like this in El Salvador, you have to understand that those people need to comprehend what Bitcoin really is. It gets you out of the monetary system. You don't have to rely on the central banks. There is a finite supply, meaning they can't just print it to oblivion like in Venezuela, like all the money. It is set in stone at 21 million. I really do think it's only 18 because everything that's been lost. So you have something that is so valuable and so rare, and it is the most secure computerized network in the world ever has seen. In that, I think those are the things, the pieces that are missing. And if we can't determine or actually talk to these people about what it actually is, they won't get it. On top of the other factors I just talked about, which was, hey, I got to feed my family. We're starving. We got to pay the rent. We don't want to get kicked out. We got to put this in US dollars. So when I say it's a speed bump, it's a big speed bump, but I think it can be overcome with time. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then lastly, I just want to say this. I'll be at a speaking engagement. It is called the Conscious Crypto Traders. It's between October 15th and 17th. And it's mostly for traders. I was asked to be a part of this to give an alternative opinion because they're like, Rob, we know you're not a trader. I'm like, yes, that's very true. But I am there to talk about what I do as far as taking profits, how I do things, how I legally minimize taxes, and the things that I'll be doing as far as like an updated, if you want to call it an exit strategy, but really it's what I'm doing with my crypto gains as opposed to exit strategy. So I'll be there talking at this on top of a bunch of other traders, which, hey, I'm not, these are all the trader experts. Not that I am Diddy. And not that I'm like a big, huge fan of everybody here, but hey, it is what it is. So I just here to give people an alternative opinion about what to do, because this is where it's gonna be a lot of new individuals, and that is it. So look, there's a link in the description for that. If you want to check it out, that's fine. But that's it for today. So first of all, if you stuck with me, I want to say thanks so much for hanging in there. I appreciate it. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing. A lot of things we talk about are very time sensitive. And that's it for today. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.